Hi, I'm Freda Reitz as the Director of 92Y's Goldman Center for Youth and Family. At this time, when we commemorate the events of 9/11, it's important for parents to think about talking with their teens about that day.
My name is Ron Taffel. I'm a psychologist, an author, and also the father of 2 children. Our kids who are now adolescents were young and starting school, maybe in elementary school, even in preschool when 9/11 happened. They have memories and they had experiences of those days as we did. And this is an anniversary and it's going to bring up a lot of different feelings that kids would remember and would relate to and might want to share. As adolescents, they might want to share them. Not necessarily they do or will want to share them. So part of what we can do is we can keep an open mind to whatever kinds of experiences our kids may have had. Remember the kinds of experiences we had, and it offers an opportunity to talk about what did happen many years ago. Each of us, ourselves, our children, having very different experiences about what we all went through. As kids, they had very different experiences than what we may think they had. That's important for us as parents to remember. The important message is, I think, and I can say this as a parent as well as a psychologist, the important message is that that your experience, what it was that you remember, is what counts. When I talk to children about what happened in their lives, I am always stunned by what it is that they remember. They'll remember the smallest detail, the thing that we absolutely didn't notice, something that feels like it's out of left field. And our instinct as parents quite often is to try to correct that experience. And one of the things we need to remember is we don't own our children's memories. Now, many parents will want to share things that happened to them. And they're going to feel like in some way it's more important to get our children to talk about what happened in their lives. They were young, we feel for them. It was a very difficult time. But as parents, we also went through much ourselves, and there may be 1 or 2 things that you might want to share with your child about what that day was like, what the days right after felt like to you and to the family, the things you might have been thinking that they were going through. If we end up waiting for our kids to talk, or we pounce on the very moment that it looks like they're going to open up, instead of starting a conversation ourselves by saying, listen, you know what? That show we just saw on TV, or something about today, makes me want to tell you something that happened to me on 9/11, and don't worry, I'll keep it brief. If you can say it in such a way that doesn't sound like a lecture is coming, a story is coming, a lesson is going to be taught, and you catch a child, your teen, in between activities, it will naturally open up to a conversation. Kids often tell me that they wish their parents would talk more about what happens to them rather than always feeling grilled by their parents, especially adolescents. There were many efforts to help our kids right after 9/11, and for many of our kids, they remember them very sharply. Some kids near to ground zero were flooded with all kinds of interventions that I think were extremely helpful. But at a certain point, the way the kids' minds work and the way their lives work is that they want to move on. They want to move on to the next thing. They want to think about what's going on right now. Now, with your adolescents, who probably did have many discussions in school and perhaps even an intervention in their lives right after 9/11, they may want to be reminded. You can tell, you understand and feel when your child wants to talk about something or is open to something that you bring up. So there's no reason not to bring it up, and remind them that, you know what, I remember a whole bunch of people came in to try to help you guys out and to try to make things a little bit better during that difficult time. It gives kids a sense that there's someone watching over them, a feeling that we really did care, which I think they feel but often can be reminded of. It's not the worst thing in the world for our kids to feel grateful. Gratitude is something that, again, we don't stress with our children, and we certainly don't stress it with our teens and with our adolescents, and yet it makes them into deeper people. It makes them feel more. It makes them understand you as an adult, that the adult community actually cared what happened to them. Many parents ask me whether they ought to have a ritual, something to commemorate what happened. And I think about it, and I think about all of the research that shows that no matter how much adolescents say they don't want to be part of rituals, that they don't have time, actually, most of them afterwards say they're glad that it happened. So if you as a parent feel that a ritual is important, go with it. Figure out something that you know will matter to yourself and to your children. Don't make it too heavy, but make it feel in some way that you're doing this because it matters to you and you believe that it will matter to your child. There will be many rituals that adolescents will go through. They'll talk about it in their peer group, they'll talk about it at school, they'll talk about it online. Those are their rituals. At home, we sometimes forget that we need to hang on to our rituals as well. So I really say to parents, if you want to have a ritual, just because you've heard that there have been 10 others in school, in your house of worship, in your neighborhood, you're watching it on TV all the time, that doesn't mean that you should have no ritual in your house. Don't let yourself be crowded out from having a ritual by all of the things that will be going on during these days. A major mantra that we parents can repeat to ourselves is that it doesn't have to be one conversation. We don't have just one opportunity. The days come around, kids come around, the opportunity presents itself again, and I think it's much more helpful to think of having any discussion and not think of it as a one-time event, and that there's always a chance to do a redo. It's much better for us if we realize that not only are our kids resilient, but the ability to talk about what really matters repeats itself. I think that our kids will give something to us, something that really matters that we didn't expect, that will surprise us, that will make us understand in some way just how thoughtful, how caring, how strong, how connected they felt. And this will remind us about the strength that we carry around as parents in ourselves. So you can have this circle, this self-reinforcing circle, this connection of strength between you and your child, if you are prepared to let them teach you something, if your heart is open, if your memory is not the correct and only memory, then I think you'll be able to be surprised by your own child and by your own reactions. This isn't an event, this isn't a time. It's just simply not a time that we can prepackage as parents. It will just unfold